In conversation with Lulu Buck. Lulu Buck is an award-winning children's book committed to making a difference in kids' life and is the author of Soul Sky and its Spanish counterpart Cielo de Susana and Magical Golden Whistle. Soul Sky and El Cielo de Susana delves into the important themes of acceptance, inclusion, and friendship. Committed to making a difference, Lulu has developed a complementary curriculum to empower adults in creative safe spaces for children. Recognized with the prestigious Mom's Choice Award Gold Seal of Approval and receiving two honorable mentions from the 2020 Purple Dragonfly Award, El Cielo de Susana was awarded a bronze medal in the category of Best Illustration for an educational children's book and also received an honorable mention for Best Illustration overall through the 2023 International Latino Book Awards. And on today's episode of Photo Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy and excitement to have on the show today Lulu Buck and Cindy Brett co-hosting me in the conversation. Welcome on the show, Lulu. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you, Peter, for having me. It's an honor being here with you.
It's nice to have you.
Yeah, it's excited really to have you here. I'm quite intrigued. I haven't read through some of your books in Amazon. I'm here. I'm excited we're here to sit and talk about it. Thanks for joining. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited to
Yeah,
talk about these books.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, Lila, I want to first say that I'm taken aback by your body of amazing literature works. And I would like us to start today's conversation with the one titled Sue Sky. Could you tell us about the making of Sue Sky and what inspired you to write it and even come up with that title name for a book?
Yeah, absolutely. Sue Sky, I kept the name very simple, just Sue. Sue's a wonderful little character in this book who is very accepting and loving of all the people that she comes across. The inspiration for the book came about in working with educators who wanted to teach acceptance, community, inclusion, kindness in their classrooms. And it's expanded to other kids' spaces. And I built an entire curriculum that goes with the book. It turned into, it at first started 5 lesson plans, and now it's more like 8 to 9 lesson plans. And it's been implemented in many schools, libraries, church events, you name it, family events, anywhere where there's kids and the adults want to improve that space for acceptance and kindness. This book has been a really great partner for adults to do that with kids. And it's basically teaching kindness and inclusion through the metaphors of skies. And all of the illustrations have been done by with canvas paintings, which keeps the book very unique. In most children's books that we pick up are digital or cartoon, and these are actual artists' canvas paintings. And I have one right behind my head. The original, the first page is right here, and it is an actual canvas painting.
That's interesting.
It is interesting because I read a lot of books and stuff like that, and that would be kind of cool to pick up your book and look at that. I'm really interested to dive into like some of the themes that you've got going on with your story in Sue's Sky, and also picking up that. Is there something else that you tell us about the subject lines picking up that story?
Yes, absolutely. So the book itself is very simplistic and it's also very repetitive. But as Sue is accepting people into her sky, here, I'll show you a couple of books. She just sees her sky as blue and she runs into her first friend who sees it a different way. So, and the theme of that is it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to wear different clothes. It's okay to speak a different language. It's okay to have a different skin color. It's okay. So you'll see that in bold, you'll see it's okay. Well, the kids on the playground over here, this little friend, because she comes up to her first friend, hey, my sky is blue. And the friend's like, well, mine isn't. Mine is actually pink and it's yellow. Isn't it pretty? Well, the kids in the playground make fun of her and they're like, you're weird. No, the sky's blue. And then Sue quickly replies, she goes like, hey, she's not weird. I think it's neat that she sees it as pink and yellow and it's okay. So that's where I chime the kids in because I'm like, I need your help to read the book. And it's so cute to hear them say, it's okay. So now Sue's sky changes with the added colors to her blue sky. Now it's blue, pink, and yellow together. And then she runs into the next friend who just sees it as gray. and his name is George. But it's interesting. The kids make fun of him and say, "No, you're weird. No, the sky's blue." And Sue's like, "No, I think it's neat that his sky is gray, and it's okay." That's where I needed you guys. And now the gray is added to her sky, and every color, every person. So you can imagine the end of the book, how colorful Sue's sky is. And she even asks a different question at the end of the book because she realizes, oh, people see their sky differently. And so that at the very end of the book, all the colors and all the skies are mixed together. And I love the oohs and the ahs that I get from kids because I build up anticipation. I was like, do you want to see all the skies mixed together? And the kids are like, yeah. I'm like, oh, sorry, the book's over. And they're like, no. And then I flip it to that last page and the oohs and the ahs. And I was like, yeah, as we accept people for their authentic selves, they
Yeah,
truly add color to our lives. They add
absolutely.
value, they add richness with their families, with their traditions, with their differences. And it's those differences that truly make our world much more colorful. And that's
Yeah,
the theme of the book. So the lesson plans, if you go to my website, it's under workshops overview, and at the very bottom it says lesson plans. It's a free document for anyone who wants it because I used
oh,
to be a teacher and I was like, no, I don't want to charge for curriculum that teachers should just have in their classrooms. So it's actually a whole download of all these lesson plans. And the lesson plans go in order. I've done this enough for 3 years now that they go in a specific order. And
yeah.
the first lesson plan teaches safe spaces. So now that we've built background information, we have these little flyers that either kids can create or the teachers can create on creating safe space. So here's one example of one that we used in a classroom, and it says our
Oh,
safe space. And they can hang it anywhere in the classroom. It's like, hey, you're safe here. Remember, everyone's okay. So everyone's safe in the space. All differences are okay, and you are important. So that's a message we want kids to have, that our differences are okay, and it's okay as you walk into the space. The second one is one of my favorite lessons. It teaches bias. It teaches judgment. And as human
oh,
beings, we are very judgy. We are. We're very
yeah.
judgmental. So in the lesson plan supplement, I created these little cards and I asked the kids 3 questions. What do you think Sue is like? What clothes do you think she wears? And then where do you think she's from? So they come up with all these things. And Maria, what do you think she's like? They always make her bubbly and fun, and she wears sparkles and unicorns, and she's all from these places. And it's interesting to me how the kid who sees his sky as gray, they always make him sad and they make him depressed, and he wears black and hoodies and things like that. And then I ask kids, well, how do you know that? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, wow, you just came up with a lot of judgments, a lot of assumptions just based on one thing, how they see their sky. But we
Yeah.
don't even know what they look like. We have no idea because I purposely didn't put any images of people in this book for that reason. And the kids are like, ooh. And I was like, it's okay. We all do it as human beings. You just have to be aware that sometimes we make positive judgments. And then sometimes, why do we make George sad? Maybe he's really happy. We don't know that. But these are the mixed messages that we get. That society tells us that gray is sad, black is sad. So that's
Oh,
one that I do. And then I always ask the kids, have you ever been judged based on one thing? And it's sad and therapeutic for kids to say yes and then talk about that,
mhm.
and then what does that mean. And so that is a really powerful lesson to do with children, because then they're aware. When we're aware of our biases at a younger age, that causes true change for
Yeah.
acceptance. And it's such a neat thing to see what that does to the child environment when we're aware, and that we can formally teach that to kids, but in a very non-threatening way. Because when we're aware of that, that's that acceptance and inclusion. The third lesson is around bullying, and I purposely made it at an informal environment on the playground where there really isn't a lot of adults observing these kids. But the kids on the playground say mean things, and I purposely use the word weird because weird to me is a word that blocks people from accepting things. So I
Mm,
tell kids, reword weird to say unique. Oh, that's different. Tell me more. Let the color in. And so the bullying roles, Sue is amazing. She's very courageous in standing up to the kids on the playground. saying,
Wow.
"Hey, not okay," right? Yeah, she's so brave. She's so amazing. And then how about the kids on the playground just watching it happen, not saying anything? And then the kids on the playground saying something, and then the kid actually being called weird. And we talk about all those roles of bullying, and we assume that kids know what bullying and not bullying is, and they don't. They really don't. So we talk about those roles, and we've all been in those roles at one point in our life. How did we feel through that? Again, another therapeutic, amazing conversation and activity to do with kids. And
Wow.
then the fourth one, this is the showcase lesson. This is why this book blew up on me, is
Wow.
we do a paint your own sky. They're very inspired by looking at all these paintings in the book. I actually bring the real paintings so kids can see them, and they paint their own skies. So on the back of the canvas, I ask kids, what's one thing you want people to accept about you? And then give me 3 or 4 other words that make you you. And so I'm going to ask you two, what's one thing you want people to accept about you that's misunderstood about you? I want you to think about that word. And then I want you to think of 3 other words that make you you. If I were to take these words away from you, you are not the same person that you are.
Mm.
So, for example, like one word for me is I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 2 amazing boys, 2 amazing sons. You take that word away from me, I'm not the same person that I am today. So, do
Mm.
you have those words in your head? What are your words, Peter?
My words are books. My words are literary critic. My words are musician. Ha ha
And
ha.
then what's one thing that's misunderstood about you that you wish people would accept about you?
Oh, I don't know. That would require me to think quite a lot. Yeah, I can't wrap, I can't quickly wrap my head around that.
A question that's difficult to answer. And at the same time, it's a
Uh,
question that we don't really put out there. But can you imagine in
oh,
a school community, all the kids putting out what they wish people would accept about them? And there's a lot of confusion and misunderstandings that are cleared through that conversation and through that sharing. So a lot that came up for me was lots of kids will say, I wish kids would accept that I'm dyslexic. They read different. So it's a little bit slower, and kids will catch themselves like, ooh, I made fun of him for reading one time. And then they feel that remorse, which is good because that means they're good humans still when they have that remorse. And we have a lot of different misunderstandings that come up and
yeah.
clarification for kids. Then I asked those kids, those 4 words, what would they look like in the form of a sky? This is where that creative process comes through for kids, and it's very non-threatening for them to put that into form. So I'm like, what color would it be? For me, a mom would represent me and 2 birds. That's how I'd represent myself. I'm also very independent, which I would make it the color purple for independence because royalty was a purple color. I don't know. That's why that, but it can be whatever they want. It's like there's no wrong answer for this. And I've
Mm.
had kids paint their own skies, and then we watercolor paint. This is a 1-child kid here. Lots of pinks meant happiness to her. Green means she's very calm. Sometimes she can be a little stormy. So she put a
Wow.
little dark cloud in there, and she likes to be very independent. So there's one little single bird in there. So
Yeah.
lots of different ways that kids have expressed themselves. And they love this because they don't feel exposed because you can't tell what it is
Wow.
without their explanation of who they are. This is one of my favorites from a child that uh, and I've done it with all ages. It's amazing to me that middle school and high schoolers get the most out of it because a children's book is a very safe entry for some of these high level conversations and very therapeutic conversations.
This is very inspiring. This is very beautiful. I
Thank
love the
you.
analytical explanation to this subject and themes in your books. And I love the fact that you had to put the kids through that beautiful text. I think this is what history even get to be taught more in classes and schools. That's a
Mhm.
beautiful text. Asking them that question, it's a beautiful one that calls them to think, imagine, and the fact that you had to incorporate painting, which is part of art and literature, to allow them to express their feeling. I love the fact that you had to mention your pink representing independence and the bird in there, the cloud representing sometimes it could be a bit stormy, etc. It's quite beautiful. That's a creative imagination for kids. And I love the subject lines, part of the ones you mentioned, acceptance and bullying, teaching judgment, etc. It's quite beautiful, really. It's quite beautiful. I think Cindy has something to add.
When you were asking some of the questions, I would have to say personally, my colors are yellow and burgundy. I and I think of parenting as passion.
Yes.
So I think of burgundy, but it's not that glowing red because it's got a hue of something deeper and depth to it. So, and I'm a yellow person, so that's just me, happy-go-lucky giddy. And that's just to answer part of your questions that you were asking, Peter, just to jive on that conversation and stuff. The more we get into things, the more I hear you talking, Lulu, I'm hearing the positive upbeats about things, but I was kind of wondering, as readers and stuff like that, what kind of when you listen to your readers and stuff, what kind of feedback are you getting? Do you feel when readers interpret your work differently than you have intended that that's okay? What do you draw from that personal experience?
Sorry, before you answer that question, I just
Yeah.
wanted to add to it. Cindy mentioned our color, yellow. I just wanted to mention that my own color is ash color. I love ash color, not entirely brown, yeah? I think ash is a bit close to brown. So I love ash color because number one, to me, they represent calmness, they represent simplicity, they represent gentleness. That's just for me. So most of my clothes are ash color. I love ash. Brown, ash color. It just gives me a bit of calmness. That's just me. Please go ahead with the question. Just wanted to ship that in.
I love that perspective because that's what I get from kids too. And that really goes into with what we do with all the skies is we
Mm,
replicate the last page of the book. So we
yeah.
put all the skies together to represent a
Yeah.
community sky. So
Ah.
together we're colorful and it's a beautiful sky. I've had some schools do had one school where all the kids painted them on popsicle sticks and the parents put them together in one big giant sky that was color coordinated. So the blues were on the top and it really did look like a giant community school sky.
Wow.
Because together we are colorful. Together, when we
Yeah.
truly support each other and build community, the environment's colorful and beautiful. And so the feedback that I've always gotten from children has always been 1000% been positive. It's
Wow.
adults that quite don't get the metaphor and want that black and white of no, the sky's blue. When I'm under it and you're under it, it's blue. We have to see it the same. And I said, yes, but the idea is that it's a metaphor that I may see things a little bit different. And that's through conversation, interpretation. It's a metaphor. And I have to explain that sometimes to adults. Children get it. Children love it. Actually, I've never had negative feedback from a child. They are very inspired by the paintings. They're inspired by painting themselves. They're inspired by painting their own world. The I'm a painter myself, and through the artistic process, we in our creative spaces, even when we're writing, the world shuts down even to the point where we don't even hear audio that's going around us. And I see that in children when they get to paint their own skies is their audio is off. They're lost in their own little creative world. And to give them that for the 15, 20 half hour minutes that I can give them that space is incredible. And then I always let the kids keep the paint because I want them to continue that, especially if they're super gifted in painting. You could see it already. You could see talent if, at a very, very young age. I had this preschooler that painted better than I did. It was
Wow.
unbelievable. And I
Wow.
asked him, I was like, "Have you ever painted before?" He said, "No, this is my first time." And I was like,
Interesting.
he was the one who made me let kids keep the paint because I'm like, you have to keep that paint and keep painting because you're so talented and gifted beyond measure that creative process just needs to continue for that child. And
Mm.
those are the experiences that I get. But yeah, the feedback that I more normally get that's a little bit indifferent is always from adults. It's never from children.
I
Wow.
notice some of what we're doing is it's like we're interpreting personally, subjectively, what each color represents. And I've been blessed to know Peter as well as I have, and for a couple years now. And when he says that he likes the dark browns and the
Ash
ash
color.
Yeah, the ash color.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing, my perception that pops in when I see his sky that he's created, I see a passion, but in different layers, because then I also know the poetry he writes. So it's just kind of interesting how that sky could look different for everybody, but then
Yeah.
how the collage together it is,
Mhm.
to form that community.
And I'm sure our audience is like, hey, Lulu, how does this work with preschool through second grade? And they're right. I've had to alter the through experience and through implementing the lesson plans. We do a different sky for our pre-K through
Mhm.
second. And so what they do is we teach emotions, that our emotions are also okay. And that's perfect for pre-K, like a
Oh,
sad,
yeah.
happy. And then they draw two big circles on the back of their canvas, and they draw two emotions that they feel a lot. And most kids will pick happy and sad, but they get to make their happy color whatever they want, and they get to make their sad color whatever they want. And this is kind of an example of that. And
Wow.
then they use that to paint their emotion sky and how they're feeling and their storms, and if they feel anything. And those pre-K kindergarten emotional skies are really, really cute as well. And I'm like, you could pick your favorite colors. So with Peter, there would have been a lot of ash in his sky, and it would be flowing with all the other colors and emotions that they're feeling right now. So that's how we do that with the little ones, and it's just as fun and just as therapeutic for little kids too.
You're taking some of your stuff into a realm of called recreational therapy. I don't know if you knew
Yes,
that.
I
Yes.
do. And so we actually have taken that a step further. Instead of telling kids what their emotional colors are, they get to
Yeah.
create their own. And
Mhm.
Absolutely.
it's very personalized. And so it's like, and the kid will come in and their happy color is green. So it's like, I'm feeling very green today. And another kid may come in and say, I'm feeling my blue today, which blue is his happy color. And so to make it very individual and very personal is always a much better approach for children anyway.
Mhm.
So, but it's confusing for the adult because they're like, oh, I need a color code, key code for each of my kids. I was like, that's okay. Have them posted on their desk with how they're feeling. And you can see when they say that color, you just look at their little key card and you could see how they're feeling. And it's personal to the child.
And I like the fact that you kept all of these artworks, really. I
Mm.
mean, I know they are works from children, what they've designed, the feedbacks they've got from them. I'm curious how much of these things you've kept for a long while, really. Because you kept bringing them out from your table over there, one after the other, and showing it to the camera, which I've been enjoying so far. That's
Oh, thank
beautiful.
you. I'm such a visual person, so I've asked permission to make copies of kids' art. A lot of
Oh,
them have kept their own art, but color copies are magic for me to get to
that's
keep. But
beautiful.
most kids will not let me keep their skies. They're so proud of them, and they do keep them.
But it
Yeah,
tells a story. It
it
Yes.
tells
tells
a story for them. So,
Mm.
tells a story because I remember doing an artwork in Lagos. It pained me that I did not take it alongside to my city. I had to message my friend, please keep that artwork for me. It was so personal. I love it because it's the first artwork I ever did in a long while in my life. Yeah. So we're in a group of artwork. Yeah, do this one. You'll tell us draw this. So I did. It was very beautiful. I was like, this is beautiful. I love to keep it to myself. So, but I lost it. So it's very painful. I wanted to put it by my wall side so I can decorate it and always make reference to
There
it.
you go. Yes.
Oh, that's so beautiful, really. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And also you have another book in the name of The Hair Circle, Developing and Improving Learning Skills for Teens. Could you tell us about the making of that as well?
Yes, the Here Cycle is actually a project we have. I'm also an educator here for a school district that does
Yeah.
phenomenal work for children. And every once in a while, I get paired up as a mentor for students that are in a leadership academy at one of the local high schools. This
Mm.
child was struggling with her capstone projects. It's always a senior who's graduating high school that works on these capstone projects. And this young student wanted her peers and build something to help teenagers listen better. She just felt like the world is very controversial and people just don't listen to each other, especially teenagers. And I said, yes, even my own teenage boys, that would be amazing. Well, doing the trainings that I do for the district, I've actually come up with a framework to help people listen better. And it was an original idea that I had several years ago, and I never did anything with it. So when I sat with this young lady, I said, I do have an idea, but it's never been built out. And let me know what you think about it. And she said, okay. I was like, I call it the hear cycle. HEAR, because we hear and listening. And we don't want to just hear, we actually want to listen to people. And it's a cycle because those letters cycle each other. And so the H has double meaning because you're going to circle back to that H. And when we listen to people very intently, we save relationships. And the cycle is for people that really want to have those conversations and listen to people in valuing their relationships with people. So the H means halt, stop. Halt means stop what you're doing and listen to this person. And then you listen with your EAR. And each one is a skill set that we want to build for students to improve their listening. The E, listen with empathy. A, listen with attention. And R, listen with respect. Wow. And that's what it meant. And sometimes the conversation can be so intense that you have to go back to that H and you have to halt again and you have to heal. Sometimes you have to heal from a conversation and then re-enter the conversation again and then go back to the EHAR. But teaching teenagers empathy has been really interesting because of the ability to put yourself into that person's shoes. Attention, kids are always distracted. So teaching attention, what does that look like? And respectful, what does respectful mean? Even when our perspectives are very different, how do we get to the level of respect when we're in that conversation? And healing looks very different for all individuals. So that's the idea. It's a workbook, actually. It's an entire workbook. And it's all a very journal based. And there's also some drawing. There's some coloring, therapeutic pieces in there. There's permission to step away from it, come back to it, because you do have to process these abilities. And so that was a neat one. And my co-author is Cecilia Couch, an amazing young woman who is now in college and at the university level. Very proud of this book with her, but I would like to rewrite it for adults eventually. So this is an idea that's tabled for now. And then, but the teenage workbook has been really phenomenal in a lot of teenage spaces and high school spaces.
Somewhere along the line, we have lost that active listening skill, and it's amazing how it's just gone to the wayside. And I contribute it towards technology. We're always in our phone or whatever, but that communication stuff. But I like how you say that is halt, empathy, then you've got attention, and then the last one
is respect. Yeah. And then we go back to the H, which could possibly mean healing, and healing from what you heard from that person. Yeah. And then absorbing that and then getting to a space where you re-enter that conversation again.
Yeah.
And it's so needed for the work that I do, that list. I have to framework conversations and I have to framework listening because it's just, everything's getting so controversial. And it's like, it's okay to have a different perspective. It's okay to have a totally different way of thinking. You just have to get to a space where you can listen to that person and truly take in what they're hearing, and then get to that level of acceptance and then move forward in a way that's A, professional, and then B, especially if you love that person and this is a relationship that you're in, I hope that there is some compromise and some listening going on there.
Yeah, that's amazing, really.
Thank you.
Very amazing. Now, just apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
I do. I have several. As you heard the adult version of that one, but I just released a new book, and I couldn't agree with you more, Cindy. In the time where we are living with technology in front of our faces, I'm seeing that kids are losing that ability to truly imagine and just dream. It doesn't have to be real. Let's bring some magic into kids' lives. Yeah. And so this book here was actually a childhood dream of mine. It's called The Magical Golden Whistle. And again, adults are going to probably think, oh, goodness, this woman is absolutely insane. But kids love it. Kids absolutely love it. So it's about a little boy who he lives in the forest. And he likes to build these little boats out of sticks and leaves, and he'll race them down the river like little boys love to do. And he's like, ready, set, go. And he built 3 of them. And then he notices in the river that something's kind of glittering and glowing. So he looks over there and he notices that it's a golden whistle. And he picks it up out of the river and he's just, ooh, that's exciting. So he blows it, but it doesn't make a sound. So he's thinking it's been in the river. So he shakes the water out of it, tries to get it all out, blows it again, but it still doesn't make a sound. He's like, huh. So he really shakes it, dries it off. Then he blows it for the 3rd time, but it still didn't make a sound. But then all of a sudden he hears this whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And he's a little nervous because it sounds something flapping really big. And he's just really nervous. And he's standing next to the river and he's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And so he looks up to the trees and he sees a magical flying horse come down from the trees. And he's just like, wow. And he's just standing there looking at this beautiful, magical, glittery white horse come down from the sky and lands right next to him, starts talking to him. And so he's really surprised. He's like, whoa. And she's like, I haven't heard someone call me for a very long time. He's like, wait, what do you mean I called you? She goes, yeah, you blew the magical whistle 3 times. And he's like, is so excited and asks him if he wants to fly all over the forest, gets up on her back, of course, and he touches the tops of the trees. And one of my childhood dreams, still my dream as an adult, is to be right up next to a river, a waterfall, and to be able to cup your hands and drink from the waterfall, but on the outside of it. And only on a black of magical white horse could you do that. You could fly right up next to the waterfall. So there is a scene where this little boy is drinking out of the waterfall and flying all over the forest, touching and observing and looking at the things from the sky. I think we all have dreamed at one point to fly. And then I've learned the hard way to put all the lessons and ideas and activities in the back of the book. So in the back of the book, you'll see that kids can write about, if you found the magic whistle, where would you want to fly and where would you want to go and what would you want to touch the top of? And I have kids say, I'd want to touch the top of a skyscraper and all these other things that it's fun having those imaginatory, magical conversations with kids. And it's been really very, very fun in doing that with children too. And then the other book, I've co-authored a book with a beautiful person that had just recently passed away, actually. And we just finished this book together. And it is all about kindness and truly passing kindness to others in ways that is very heartfelt and beautiful. And so we are going to release that book in her honor and in her memory and in her family's memory, for her family, here within the year. And so I'll keep in contact with you, Peter, on when that next book comes out. It is a very, very beautiful story. Wow. To co-author this book with this person, she just leveled up my writing and then leveled up ideas on what really impacts children in a way that we can make the world much more kinder as well. So I'm very proud of that work to be released here in the next year or so.
That's great. Look forward to that, really.
Thank you.
I am definitely impressed with the illustrations in your pictures and stuff like that. Very nicely done.
Thank you. Chris is a very talented artist. We used to paint together. It's where I first learned how to paint. She used to own one of those paint and sip studios where people go and relax and have popular. Yes, and she retired. She closed it 5 years ago. So when the idea of Sue Sky came about, I couldn't think of anyone better to paint the illustrations of skies, because all of her paintings that she's ever done, she's a very, very talented, gifted artist. And so I said, I have this idea. She said, oh yeah, no problem. She painted all of them in 3 days. She painted
Wow.
12 canvases in 3 days. She went through
Wow.
this frenzy where she could not stop as an artist. You kind of know what that's like, where you just paint 48 hours straight some days. And
Mm.
then when she did the Magical Golden Whistle, there's a lot of beautiful paintings that she did do. Some of these paintings are hanging in her place as well. And then she did a lot of digital work as well, but half of it's canvas paintings and the other half is her work. At the end page, this is one of my favorite paintings that she actually has hanging in her cottage, and it's where Peggy lives in the forest. And as you can see, all the colors in there are just stunning. And that is an actual canvas painting that hangs in her cottage. And then she added what I call Peggy, and this is the flying horse at the very end. But the colors are just very vibrant. And it's very, again, unique for the illustrations because they are actual canvas paintings.
Oh, wow.
Definitely beautiful.
Thank
Very
you.
beautiful.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your book that we didn't mention in this interview? Something that's personal or deep or anything?
Well, I know with the Magical Golden Whistle, there's a lot of depth in there. The way this came out, I lost my husband in 2019, and
Oh,
I do everything I can to honor him because he was also a man who just was the kindest man that you'll ever meet. He was an assistant principal, so of course he loved children just as much as I do, and as would service and take care of children as much as he can. So anytime I feel like I can honor him in a way through kindness, I feel like I'm doing work through him and with him, which is really fun. And
yeah.
so if the main character in the book, and Chris is probably the only one who can pull this off, my illustrator, I sent her, she's like, we should make the main character Frank, your husband, and use him by his real name. And I was like, that would be so wonderful. So I sent her pictures of Frank when he was only 7, 8, 9 years old, and she replicated him completely. When you look at this character, I do see Frank in it when he was a little boy, because my son, it looks exactly the same as
Wow.
my husband did. So I see him in these illustrations where she replicated him in that, and so all these little symbols and things in there. When we can honor him, we just do, just because we feel like there's this level of kindness that comes through the book to children. And that's just a spiritual belief that I do have, is that when we can honor and the people that we have lost through legacy, and it is his legacy, it's his legacy of kindness. And then this next book is an additional legacy that we will carry on behalf of our loved ones that have just are vibrant, beautiful people that just were the kindest people that I've ever met.
Mm.
And it's unfortunate that their lives were cut short, but they were cut short because we are legacy carriers. We are legacy carriers for the people that we have lost. And we have to find strength to make sure that they do live on in a way that changes lives for the positive, because
Mm.
that's who they were. So that's kind of a very intimate, personal detail that I normally do not share. Just because
Beautiful
it's a
tribute.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it is a beautiful tribute to the
yeah,
people.
it is most definitely a beautiful tribute.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. That's quite beautiful, really. That's quite emotional as well. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And just in case we have some viewers who are watching this interview, yeah, and would love to get a copy of your books, what platform are they available on for purchase?
Yeah, absolutely. You can either get them straight off my website if you want them signed on lulubuck.org is my personal website, and then you'll get pretty much all of my contact information, but they are available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They're worldwide, so you could find them pretty much anywhere on Target, Walmart. I've
Mm.
seen them everywhere, but mostly
Wow.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and then also lulubuck.org is my personal website.
Yeah, interesting. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where
Oh, thank
interested
you.
viewers can get a copy of Lulu Box books directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles on our website and also on other platform. I also left a link to our social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Lulu, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. And also, this is more than awesome. Very great Very lively, animated, awesome, beautiful, and great. Having this conversation with you around your titles. I love your excitement talking about your books. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you both for having me on the show. It's been a complete honor and privilege. So thank you.
And I just want to say congratulations on this. This is something that it will definitely be healthy for all children
Yeah,
and growing adults. So,
Thank you.
yes,
you're welcome.
it was
That's
nice to have
great.
met you.